Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve. Welcome to Born to Achieve podcast, the show that inspires and motivates you to unlock your full potential and achieve your goals. With your host, Warren Andrew Pinder. Let's get started on this week's episode of Born to Achieve. Born to Achieve.
That leads me to oftentimes I tell, you say you put the work in, find the solutions. The person that is great at finding solution is the person that's going to make themselves really valuable.
You think about right now, and you're in Canada, right, Warren?
No, I'm in Nassau, Bahamas.
Nassau, Bahamas, yeah. So
yeah.
I'm sure you're hearing a lot about what's going on in the U.S. right now and the transition, right?
Yep.
Not going on here.
Yeah.
But I think about it this way. There's a lot of consternation, right? And a lot of the world is watching the U.S. in many ways right now and other parts of the world of what's going on and how we're going to respond to various challenges we're facing now. But something just kind of sparked me as you were sharing that. And that's even during difficult seasons, somebody's behind the scenes planning and plotting and putting things in place to add value in seasons like this.
Yep.
Some ventures are going to be popping up. There may be a young potential leader right now, him or her in their basement, planning for the next 4 years after, or 8 years, or running for Congress, or running for whatever's going on, right? That some people are just going to sit and look at problems and complain. Others are planning and putting things in place to add value. And I think that's a great place for that young person who might be listening right now. You may be frustrated with what you see going on in your diaspora or on your island, right? Or in your country. Are you going to be a part of the problem? Or are you going to be a part of the solution?
Solution. And the solution is where you begin to understand. It's so gratifying that once you have caught into it, you say, you become excited. You become excited when I say, you know what? I just solved the problem. We could do this. We may be on to something. And that's how, like you say, the planning and capitalizing on the opportunity that comes from the controversy of all that you're seeing, that really makes sense. It puts purpose into your existence. And
for having a strong support network matters, because we can become disillusioned. We can become let down. And why do these leaders get put in place? And when will my where I live take off? Why can't, what's next for my people, for my nation? It still comes back to that point. What am I going to do about it? So having a strong support team, having like-minded individuals. You put enough like-minded individuals together, good things have happened. I've heard it said, two things usually happen when like-minded people come together. Usually something really good or something really bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to decide, right? Let me put some like-minded people in a positive direction and make some lasting change.
Yeah. And it's nothing like trying. You not to just sit and accept, but try. You try to develop a new mindset. Try and understand that, it's so good. Like as informative as it is, social media, you can't really do without it. But, watching the news and all that's going on, like you say, in the U.S., if you were to really sit down and concentrate on the things that you may not like that you see going on, and literally say nothing or do nothing, you don't have to go out there and be an activist. But in your mind, in your group, in your setting, you can actually comfort yourself. You can grow by expressing yourself in a way to say, you know what, let's focus on, as you were speaking about, let's focus on what it would take, or where's the angle that we need to look at this, rather than stressing yourself out for the next however many years that you really want to dwell into it. But it's unique for you to really have a mindset of understanding that this is what affects me.
That's right.
Let me focus on that.
That's right. And I think that's really good for our mental health and our emotional health as well. When we take action, when we take responsibility and we become a part of the solution, that can help relieve anxiety, stress, depression. I always say one of the greatest and I'm being a therapist, one thing I noticed is one of the greatest antidotes to anxiety, fear, and depression is purpose.
Yeah.
Once we know why we're here and what that mission looks like, it doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to experience depression or sadness or anxiety, but it certainly can help channel some of that energy into something that's positive. It makes us less of a victim and more of a victor.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I truly like that, Michael. I'll tell you, right? Like, it's so funny we just segue right into purpose, but man, I'm still caught up with the fact that you wrote a book, Born to Achieve, right, in 2012. And I came behind you, but trying to create this concept of for people to understand that, you are born to achieve, and but you got to take action to do it.
That's right. That's right. I love
so like right now in your professional career and all that you have done, with the experience that you have gained in sharing, because you said that that's where the power is, trying to make others great. When we speak and to our listeners, how do we really get them to come on board in believing the same?
I think it starts with encouragement and pointing out what people are already doing. Glass half full versus glass half empty.
Yeah, I heard
of course, with more optimism. There's a counseling, there's a theoretical approach in counseling called strengths-based counseling. And that invokes more optimism, that taps into what people are doing right. An encouraged person, I believe, tends to perform better. So we would start by identifying what you're already doing right. Some things, right, you're already doing right. So we build out on those things. So it'd be more of an abundance mindset versus a deficit mindset. Accountability and encouragement can live under the same roof. So I think it starts in many ways with pointing out that I want both to live under the same roof. That glass half full says, I'm not just showing up to the party with a blank sheet of paper. Some things you may already just build upon the things you're already doing. And then find maybe an accountability partner, somebody that you can hold accountable and they can help hold you accountable to say, hey, let's get going here. It's kind of like working out. I was noticing today, if you're listening to music sometimes when you're working out, it's like you can get 1 or 2 more reps out. There's a little energy force there.
Yes.
And if you got a partner sometimes who are helping you on your venture, it's like, hey, we got to be on this podcast at 7:00. Where you at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or having people that can help hold us accountable and we can help hold them accountable can go a long way. So find a mentor, maybe find a coach, find somebody that's going to speak positivity and speak life into you and not just remind you of what you've done wrong, but that can also point out what you're doing right and build out from there.
Thank you for joining today's podcast. We'll be right back.
Achieve Man, written by Warren Andrew Pinder and Dominique Bradford. This book passionately focuses on the challenges women have been made to go through and how to overcome them. In some cultures, being a woman disadvantages the girl child. This book carefully exposes the hurdles you might face. This masterpiece is the ultimate self-help guide for women. It reveals your true purpose and identity. Get your copy today. Available from Amazon.
We now return to today's podcast.
That's some great advice. Some of the tools and that are out there, you can give our audience any books that you recommend.
Absolutely. So they can go to my website to find my book.
Just let us know.
And you can put that in there. You can certainly put that in the chat or note.
In the chat, Dominic.
Yeah. That's my website, brownsleadership.com. They can go there and learn more about what I'm doing. And another good book that I would say that is inspirational and motivational. One is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Always best.
Yeah, that's a great one there. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. That's a good one. So many good books out there, right, that can help in that space. And tapping into also your spiritual foundation. The holy books.
The holy book. Can't get wrong.
Forgive you principles, absolutely. And tools and teachings that can go a long way.
Definitely. So tell us a bit about the Why Try, your Why Try organization.
Yes. Back in 2016, I was a part of what they were doing. I'm still connected in some ways. I got some good friends over there. But back then, I was working as a national trainer for the Why Try organization, and they're located out in Utah. And I encourage anybody who looks for tools that can help provide resilience to youth, and in any organization that looking for resilience training, the Why Try organization is a great place to look into. And what they focus in on is helping individuals tap into their resilience. How do you bounce back from adversity? And they use a multi-sensory approach to doing that, particularly with youth, using music to motivate, visual prompts that really help youth answer the question, why try? Why pursue your education? Why pursue your purpose? Why stay out of trouble? So that's a little bit about that organization. They can go to the website there and learn more about it.
And learn about it. Yeah. But it's funny you used the metaphor of music and persons learning from it. Here in the Bahamas, I'm a big fan of Drum Canoe, and Drum Canoe is our cultural festival, the greatest show on earth. Never seen nothing like it. Pulsating vibes, great artistry and costuming, and so I see the excitement from young persons, right? When you're able to correlate passion for something, and that's when you really identify talent, because persons will come out of their shell when they're feeling excitement that they are part of creating, such excitement. And so for you with music, there are a lot of young persons here in the Bahamas wanting to learn music just because they want to play in a Drum Canoe band. Per capita, I think in the Caribbean, you have more persons wanting to because it's like ensembles on playing the songs and they know exactly how it feels. So that is something that we push, right? How would you say to a parent to make them to understand the importance of such activities, to get their kids involved with at an early age, or even just to get them away from the games and so forth, to give them a tangible asset, to develop and find purpose?
That's good. I think, it starts with awareness and wanting to identify in youth their strengths, their skills. Sometimes the parents or the elders can see natural proclivities that a child may have. When they see it, they acknowledge it and invest in it and expose them and surround them in that environment, right? That's going to help them identify their skills and their passion. I think the key for the parent is to, continually ask, what am I more married to? Meet the child doing what I want them to do, or them following their God-given passions?
Man, look here. Let me stop you right there, Zachary, because my next question, my next question, right, was like, when a child is doing something and the parent feels that, why are you wasting your time with that? Like to discourage him. And that's where you're heading. That's where you're heading, right?
Yeah. And as long as it's something positive, we should invest in that, right? We should, and you can save a lot of time and frustration. The parent may want the child to be the next Pele or the next great soccer player, but they may be more interested in painting or art, right? So to allow them to pursue their passion makes the parent look in the mirror and say, right, we may need to fall back and say, is their life, let me help them tap into their purpose, their passion, even if it's something that, the parent might not look forward to.
Yeah.
But to remind ourselves, right, that the child would need to, at a certain point, identify what are my strengths, what are my gifts? Because let's face it, not every child gets that positive reinforcement. And still, they make the decision of saying, I still have to live my life. I have to pursue my passion. And maybe you guys can relate to that, where your parent may wanted you to do something, but you didn't have a passion for it. And there comes a point in where that child may stand up and say, Mom, Dad, Auntie, Grandma, I get it. You want me to pursue this, but my heart is in X, Y, Z. And that's where other people can help spur us on. So we connect with people, right, that see something in us and will invest in that. So to a young person that's listening, maybe you were looking for somebody in your house to be your biggest encourager or supporter, or that person in your church or your community to be the biggest investor and supporter. Do you stop when you don't get it from them? I say no. You might be looking for a mentor and it hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Stay hungry. Keyword there, right? Stay hungry.
Go get the fruit of the tree.
That's right. Go get the fruit. And don't get discouraged if your expectations are not met.
My brother, do you think that could be the cause of rebellion in our youth?
Absolutely. So I'm so glad you're talking about the youth, Warren, because and your Born to Achieve, right, touches on so many points in regard to our youth. Sometimes we speak about our youth in a us and them, us versus them dynamic, only to discover that's not new. Probably, you're right, back in the 30s, 40s, you name the decade, there's something about one generation always thinking that their generation was better. Okay. That's not new. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. In my day, we were so much this, so much that. Okay, we got to remove some of that dynamic and not get amnesia. Right? That your parents might not have liked your afro or your clothes or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, when we remove that line in the sand of us versus them, I'll share this story with you guys. As a school counselor, Warren, as in high school, I was really struggling. One day I remember seeing a young man with his pants down really low, and you guys may not deal with that in the Bahamas like we do in the U.S., right? But, where we call it sagging the pants, right? When pants fall down real low. And I remember one day, Warren, talking to a young man. I was frustrated. And I was kind of, leaning into him a little bit too hard. Like, man, come on, man, pick your pants up. What are you doing? And I'll never forget when he said to me, Warren, he said, all you had to do was ask.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a reminder to me that, yes, we may get frustrated, but make sure the approach is right.
Yeah.
To realize that if we don't have, and I was able to pivot in that moment. My bad, man. I just get a little frustrated. Pull your pants up. We were cool, right? We were cool.
Yeah.
Not a big a deal, but it was a reminder. Sometimes we're critiquing and judging our youth when we're the ones responsible for helping, teaching, and mentoring.
Yeah, you didn't take that. That's the time when you could take a moment and really explain to them, why they should not be wearing their pants down, rather than them just following fashion. A lot of people, if no one ever stops them, like you said, in the correct way and tell them, they can continue just to do what they think is right.
But he helped me because he wasn't asking for a lecture or for me to tell him why it was wrong. He reminded me, all you had to do was ask.
Facts.
Which tells you he already knew. He knew. Exactly. He knew that he could pull his pants up. It's not that we're not judging anybody. We all had our fashion trends, right?
Yeah.
And to realize that some of us are complaining about folk that we need to be helping.
Yeah.
Sometimes we speak about our youth. When that's your grandson, that's your child, that's your one generation in many ways speaks more about the parents than the current generation.
Yeah.
Sometimes we look at our youth, it may say more about the parents and the grandparents than it does about the youth. A youth is supposed to push the boundaries. Yeah. That's what young people do. They're supposed to be. But so I'm big on the next generation.
Oh, yeah.
I say betting against the next generation is a bad bet. I think we're going to see greatness come. right? Because we got enough people out here talking about born to achieve and greatness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's our future. I mean,
Sure.
the youth is our future.
And there are present.
Our president.
Some of them are doing things right now that are mind blowing in a positive way.
And I was just telling you, like, sometimes I would hate to be in that space because the amount of decisions that they have to make, the things is coming so fast at them. It's like, we were good. We were good because, you had examples, but, technology is just creating things in lightning time that they have to really understand, and not really get disillusioned with where they are, but to stay focused, That's one of the things.
There's more access to more positive messages as well than ever before.
Yeah, that's true.
But the technology and the internet is only going to expose, right, whatever it is that you seek.
Right.
So if you're looking for a great podcast, you can find it now. You couldn't find that online in the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
You can find your great influencer now than before. So now we know the negative aspects of that. Obviously, we're not going to bury our head in the sand on that. But the greater the adversity, in many ways, the greater the opportunities.
Yeah.
If we're focused and targeted and intentional. So I commend you guys. Let me pause and commend you guys for what you're doing, seeing the void seeing what's needed in the marketplace, starting a podcast and leaning out there. So I commend you for that.
Thank you for joining today's podcast. We'll be right back.
Achieve Man, written by Warren Andrew Pinder and Dominique Bradford. This book passionately focuses on the challenges women have been made to go through and how to overcome them. In some cultures, being a woman disadvantages the girl child. This book carefully exposes the hurdles you might face. This masterpiece is the ultimate self-help guide for women. It reveals your true purpose and identity. Get your copy today. Available from Amazon.
We now return to today's podcast.
You just said something just now, right? That I didn't really give thought to, right? Like you said, there's just as much good to be found on the internet as the bad, and we just happen to ponder on the bad.
That's right. We spend a lot of our time talking about what's not good.
Yeah.
Versus highlighting the fact that whatever you search, in many ways, you can find.
Yeah. And it's there.
Some people's YouTube algorithms is set to positive, and they're getting that content and they're benefiting off of it.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. Because as you were speaking just now, we're talking about the youth, right? One of the places where, we really would hope that would attract the youths is the church. But you would find in many instances that the youth programs, they're straying away from the church because they're not seeing, even though that's the best place for them to be. They're not really seeing. So it's like you don't want to adapt to them, but you want to bring them in as they're the future.
And that's why purpose is so important, because you want people working with youth who are passionate about it and who are leaders in this area versus just going with the flow.
Yeah.
Our youth are often looking for something different. And I think you touched on a very key point, right? Churches, synagogues, mosques, whoever, civic organizations that are thriving get this point. Churches that are exploding oftentimes get it. Why? Because they have programming geared towards the people they're trying to reach. Just like a great restaurant or a great business, it often takes off when they target the area, when they target the audience that they want to influence. So we need people in these lanes, right? In our churches, in our civic organizations, who are there for the right reasons and are passionate about it. If not, they need to find somebody who will be passionate about it.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Now, I'm all about that said, man. And that's my intro though. My intro says to you, I'm born to achieve greatness, and so are you, right? I've said that so many times that I believe that. I believe that I am born to achieve greatness. But I also believe that the listener on the other end is as well. But we're not trying to hype them. Like you said, you planted the flag. I want to raise it a minute, right?
Yeah.
I want to raise the flag for our listeners to understand that once they realize that the gift that was given to them by the creator,
Yeah.
the talent, that you have the ability, right? You have inherited that.
Yeah.
You have inherited that ability to seek first
Yeah.
what it is he has for you.
Yeah.
What is his purpose for you? And once you dwell in that and take away anything negative from your belief, your flag will fly high.
Such a positive and
Planet, your
powerful
flag would fly high.
Warren, I commend you for planting that flag and for championing this message. It's such a powerful message. Just the message of Born to Achieve Greatness runs out in front of you before you even say anything.
Yeah.
That reminder, right, that it's our birthright. It's in us. No child born, right, is born not to achieve. We all are born to achieve. There's some gifts, some skills, some attributes placed in us that we didn't even ask for, that were gifted by God, the Creator. Now, how do we get to it? The good news is that we can help each other get there, and that we can see things in other people. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that. I'm so glad for people that see things in us that we might not be able to see in ourselves. And they'll lean on us. They'll challenge us. They'll help us to realize that it's not just an individual sport, that you can build a support team around you to help you tap into it. So very positive and powerful message that you're putting out there.
Oh man, great man. But Michael T. Brown, give our listeners your social handles, man. Let them know, because I'm sure a lot of them want to know more about you and all of this wisdom that you've shared on this show today. I am impressed. Like I said, it's more like that. I've just adopted you as a mentor, right?
Man, awesome, man. Appreciate
The fact that, like I said, like minds coming together.
Yeah.
We're saying achieve men, achieve ma'am. Now we're exploring Achieve Land, a children's book where you can use your imagination to put you in a place where you want to be, or to see where, you actually in the role of whatever your dream is, and for me, I've discussed recently, just saying, what? Achieve Land. When I wake up in the morning, this is my kingdom. This is my Achieve Land. I'm in control. I'm in control of this place. This is my government. This is where I am. So when I hear everything you talk about, what's going on television and CNN and all that, no, let me revert to Achieve Land. This is what I can control. And if we can get people to understand that you have your own Achieve Land, that's your country, that's your wealth. You got the minerals, you have everything, you have all the commodities that you need to succeed. Just create your Achieve Land. That's a metaphor that I believe I'm going to push. That should resonate with a lot of persons, that just step back from wherever you are and go to your Achieve Land and understand that there you were born to achieve greatness. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Michael. Your last words for you, brother.
Well, thank you again, Warren and Dominique, for having me on your podcast here. So many nuggets that I've gained from this conversation as well, and I appreciate all that you're doing. Anyone reaching out, want to find me, can search me online. My handles on X is MTBrown98 at MTBrown98. Same for LinkedIn, and they can even email me directly at email@brownsleadership.com. I do speaking engagements, and anybody would like to connect with me can find me there. You can search for me, Michael T. Brown, online, and you can find me there. Closing words, as you were just sharing there, Warren, I was thinking about this principle that everybody can ask themselves today, where am I? Where do I want to go? And what will I do to get there? I think that's a great place to start. Where am I? A self-assessment. Where am I? Where do I want to go? And what am I willing to do there? What am I willing to do in order to get there? And it's okay to tap into those higher faculties in order to get there. Where you are, it may feel like, 1,000,000 miles away, but the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the journey of 1,000 starts with one step, right?
One step.
Imagination, tap into your creativity, visualize, start to cast the vision of where it is you want to go. We don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have all the resources right now, but with the right desire, the right sense of alignment spiritually, focusing in on our mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health. Healthy individuals, right, make up healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And when the individual says, I want to achieve, and we get in alignment and get in harmony with that, man, even the sky is not the limit. So
right.
I appreciate you having me again. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Born to Achieve. We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and motivating. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Stay focused on your goals, and we'll see you on the next episode of Born to Achieve.
Take advantage of this incredible opportunity. Sign up today and claim your free ebook at www.borntoachievegreatness.com. Follow us on Facebook at Achieve Movement Inc. Get your copy of Exploring Achieveland, A Journey to Realize Your Dreams, Motivational Stories of Kindness, Inspiring Stories for Kids on Amazon and Kindle.